Castor oil. We all have an image of it as that vile-tasting medicine that insistent mothers used to force down children who had too much candy. Now, it may seem an unlikely candidate as a cornerstone for Cayce's health care, but when you study the readings, you see that it indeed is. You will be relieved to know, however, that it is hardly ever recommended internally. Most readings recommend castor oil in the form of castor oil packs. Some 545 Cayce readings recommend these packs, and they're suggested for such things as arthritis, colds, constipation, cysts, flu, even ulcers. And that's just a partial list. Remember, for the most part, the castor oil packs were only a part of the treatment. As I said before, Cayce's approach is a holistic one. So in no way do we mean to imply that a castor oil pack by itself will correct any of these diseases. But what does a castor oil pack do? Well, the Cayce readings say that it will increase your eliminations, stimulate the liver, which is the filtering organ of the body, relieve pain, reduce inflammation of tissues, and stimulate the lymphatic system. There's been some research about the effects of castor oil packs, particularly in connection with the immune system, and there are indications that castor oil packs do indeed stimulate the body's natural immune system. This all boils down to the fact that whenever you begin to feel sick or run down or out of sorts, put on a castor oil pack. When you go to bed at night, it helps you sleep. It helps eliminations and just helps get your strength back. So, let me show you how to prepare a castor oil pack. Castor oil packs are remarkably simple. They're really nothing more than wool flannel soaked with castor oil laid against the skin. Now, castor oil packs are also pretty messy, and the size and placement is also very important. You begin with a piece of wool flannel, 18 to 24 inches, that when folded down 3 to 4 thicknesses is about 10 to 12 inches. You can get wool flannel at any store that carries Cayce products. You can also get it at your fabric shop, or if all else fails, just use an old wool blanket from around the house, a piece of one. You'll also need a plastic or rubber sheet or anything waterproof to protect the bedding from the oil. Here you see an electric heating pad, a couple of old towels, 2 large safety pins, and some plastic sheeting. Trash bags or dry cleaning covers are great, just so it's long enough to wrap around the body where you're going to put the flannel. And you'll need at least a pint of castor oil. Now, most drugstores sell the smaller size castor oil, but that's not really enough to get started. Any store that supplies Cayce products will have the larger size, and you'll probably save money in the long run anyhow. Now, before you get started preparing the pack, it's a good idea to get your bedding ready. This is so when you put on the pack, you can just lie down. Take a plastic sheet and lay it down on the bed. Then put a towel over that. Now that that's ready and waiting, let's get back to preparing the pack itself. The first thing you do is fold the flannel to the proper size. The readings suggest putting the pack in different places depending on the individual situation, but the most common place is over the liver and gallbladder, then extending a little bit over the abdomen. You can see on this diagram that the liver is on the right side of the torso, under the lower part of the rib cage. So your flannel will cover the liver, the gallbladder, and the abdomen very nicely. Now, the next step is to soak the flannel in castor oil and then warm it. One method is to take a baking dish like this, lay in the flannel, and just pour on the castor oil. Then pop it in the oven. Then, when the castor oil is warm, just take it out and lightly wring the excess oil out of the flannel. You have to be careful at this because the oil can burn you. It's only supposed to be warm. The readings say that the flannel should be saturated with the oil, but not dripping. Now, let's watch a castor oil pack being applied. As you can see, the pack is being placed directly over the liver and then extending over the upper abdomen. Then the pack is covered with plastic. Next, a heating pad is placed over the plastic and the pack, and then finally a towel is wrapped around and fastened with a couple of safety pins. The purpose of the plastic is to keep the pad and the towel from becoming stained with oil. Now, when you do this, just lie down, plug in your heating pad, and relax for an hour. And remember, the pack should be as warm as you can comfortably stand. Don't make it painful, just very comfortably warm. Afterwards, since the oil is kind of sticky, you can wash it off with a mild baking soda solution, say 2 teaspoons to a quart of warm water. When you remove the pack, store it in a jar that you can heat it up in later. It should have a lid to it so you can keep it clean. So the next time you're ready to prepare a pack, simply put a little more castor oil in the jar. Just a little in the bottom. Then place the jar in a pan. About this much water in the bottom of it. But before you do, put a dish towel in the bottom of the pan. This helps protect the bottom of the jar. The jar in. Let it heat for about 6 or 8 minutes on medium heat. Not too hot. Remember, we want it comfortably warm. Now, when it's heated, just simply pull it out. And the plastic, remember the plastic that protects your towel and your pad. Pull this out. Unroll it. And remember that oil we put in the bottom of the jar? That's warm now. Very comfortable. Pour that on the pad. And now you have your castor oil pack. Now this works best for us, but you may find your own system after a while. Whatever the case, using this, you can use the pack over and over again. Harold Riley, the physiotherapist who collaborated with Cayce for years, recommends in his very excellent Handbook for Health Through Drugless Therapy that you don't share the castor oil packs, that every member of your family should have their own. And don't try to wash the pack. When you think it's gotten too dirty, say after 6 months or a year, just throw it away and start with new flannel. In terms of how often to use castor oil packs, the readings suggest a cycle. That is, every day for 3 days, then off for 3 days, then back on again for 3 days until you feel better. The readings also recommend taking a couple of teaspoons of olive oil each night and 2 tablespoons after the 3rd pack. This will help you eliminate any toxins in your system. Some readings suggest even having an occasional castor oil pack to maintain good health, and I think that's good advice. That's one of Cayce's major remedies, castor oil packs.